Hi, I'm David Reinstein, just giving my talk for NISO conference, just preparing, practicing for it right now. I just thought I'd share with you the nice view before I start this practice. So I presenting at the NISO conference in a few moments. I usually practice first by recording my talk. So let me just share the screen and the slides there. This is part of a panel on diversification and decentralization of peer review for the NISO conference. That's the National Information Standards Organization. I hope I'm getting that right. So jump to my first slide. Following pre-review, discussion from pre-review and bioRxiv. I'm going to tell you about myself. My name is David Reinstein. Following 20 years as an academic economist, I left to work at a think tank, pursue more impact, and then I started this project called the Unjournal. What is the Unjournal? Here's what we are. Okay, we're a nonprofit organization. We commission domain experts to publicly rate and evaluate research in economics, policy, and quantitative social science, focusing on potential for global impact. This is our long motto. It's a mouthful. We commission experts to publicly rate and evaluate research to make impactful research more rigorous, to make academic research more useful, to support open science, open access, and transparency, and to improve the peer review process, helping align research incentives with truth-seeking and social value. All our information you can find at unjournal.org. Tried to communicate it very transparently. We don't publish research, we evaluate and rate it. And I'll get to that process in a moment. The research stays where it is, open, transparent, dynamic, accessible. Everything we produce gets a DOI and a CC BY license. We built something that works. The question is how to plug it into the infrastructure, your infrastructure, so that it actually gets discovered and used. I think you know this. We're in a system built around an old system, printed volume, snail mail. These impose a natural filter. Filters are helpful, access to scarce journal space. It's useful, but now we can do things in better ways. We can rate, filter, curate. Academics basically have the ability to publish everything that they want, to make public, that is, in interactive, lovely living formats. But we haven't moved on because of coordination and what I would call second order beliefs. Let me move on from here because I think you get this point. And I think you also get this point that we now link the rewards to academics from publications, from publishing in journals, the credibility of their work, and the dissemination of the work basically are linked to these things that we call journals, which unlocking from these, the dissemination, the place where the research is shared, the way it's shared, from the thing that gives it credibility and gives it rewards would unleash a range of benefits I could talk about, but I don't have much time to. I think the incentive one is perhaps the most important. Rating means once a research paper gets a rating and an evaluation, people have some way of knowing whether to judge its credibility, and the researcher can get that career benefit from it and decide, do they want to improve it and move on? In economics, it can take years and distort a tremendous amount of effort away from actually improving strong research. Formats, open access, etc. But to get out of what I call journal prisons or PDF prisons, these are the things that have career value, and these are the things that people see. To make this work, the evaluation needs to be a first-class scholarly object. The evaluation and the rating with its own DOI, metadata, and place in the discovery ecosystem, which is what we've tried to build and what we're trying to build and what I need your help making work. Talk you through the process. In economics and adjacent areas, a lot of work is already openly hosted years before it ever is published in a journal. We identify research that meets our impact potential standards. We have a team that sort of just votes on it and discusses what research has the greatest potential for impact. People can also submit their research, of course. We recruit expert evaluators, pay them. So we actually have a managed process. We find someone on our team who has some expertise and interest in this area. They recruit expert evaluators. We have an evaluator pool of a few hundred who have signed up, but we can go outside that pool. We give them incentives and some guidance and specific forms they're supposed to produce, which includes detailed reports and quantitative ratings. I'll show you those in a moment. Um, Overall assessment, methodological rigor, consistency of the evidence with the statements, reasoning transparency, real world relevance, realism of assumptions. Authors can respond. Evaluators can adjust to those responses, particularly if they miss something. We synthesize it. We produce an evaluation manager summary, make the ratings very prominent, and all objects get a place in the ecosystem. Structured metadata, which I think I'm here to help learn how to improve upon. Note, it's not an exclusive process. Of course, it couldn't be because we're not only taking submissions, we're going out and doing these evaluations, always keeping the authors in the loop. So authors can engage in this process, but also publish in standard journals, traditional journals. We're trying to provide a bridge and uh, not a bridge to jump off of, a bridge to climb over. So this is what our output actually looks like, at least posted on PubPub. Um, it's not blog commentary. It's not simple thumbs up. It's detailed reports from named or anonymous experts, constructive criticism, detailed suggestions authors often respond to. The best, like to think of it as the best type of referee reports. Um, it's structured, compensated, and quantitative ratings to positive peer review type records in Crossref with is review of relations linking back to the original paper. But we can discuss whether maybe there's better ways I can make these discoverable because I want everyone who is looking for the paper, who sees the paper, who's cited the paper to know about this our evaluations, our evaluation packages. That's how we can change the system by being visible, by being there when other gatekeepers are looking to judge the paper, use the paper. When a researcher, policymaker, or a traditional journal reviewer looks at the paper or looks for the paper, they should see our package. Quick slide. We also elicit quantifiable ratings, both overall meant to be benchmarked to percentiles, also benchmarked to journal tiers that people might be accustomed to. We want to make these highly visible, again, because if we're not a journal tier, if we're saying evaluations should be what matters, and you can improve research and continue to get it evaluated, and you should be judged based on how your research is evaluated, well, there needs to be some metric for that to replace, like in economics, the top 5 journals. These are machine readable signals that could be fed. And here we see several papers being compared on our dashboard. Machine readable signals that could be fed into discovery and recommendation systems. Eager to hear your ideas on how to make that happen and to work with you. How do we make it count? This is one of the biggest challenges. We've tried to do everything right. Metadata, DOIs, Crossref, CC BY, ORCID, but we're not yet showing up in the places researchers actually look, at least not as much as I would like. So our Crossref records have no container title, so open access doesn't recognize us as a source. Our records look like orphans, even where we have managed to get DOIs minted. Some of them silently failed to deposit, something to do with our platform in PubPub, or because the reviewed paper itself didn't have a DOI. We don't have an ISSN yet. I think that would add to our discoverability. Our evaluations, and this is the one that hits me the most, or that I noticed the most, our evaluations are, at least many of them, indexed in Google Scholar because we use this tool, Repec. We maintain a database there. And the evaluations, each evaluation at the bottom has a citation, list of citations to the original paper, but they don't show up in the graph, in Google Scholar's graph. Someone looking at the paper will not see is cited by this Unjournal evaluation, which I think would be a very helpful way to discover things. So how can we make it count? Well, we can have people like grant funders require or encourage public evaluation by pre-review by the Unjournal as a condition of getting or renewing a grant. Other gatekeepers and stakeholders could do this, but I'm talking the info community today, information community today. The question is, how do we get these to show up in the tools that people actually use? And that's where I'm getting your help. And I've already gotten some very helpful suggestions, and maybe you can take more in the session. Love to meet with you. Love to answer your questions and help you. In the bonus slides, I share some of the process details. Okay, finally, just one thing to note. This is not really what this conference is about, but the other main blocker to us, we need credibility, we need visibility, but we need people to engage. There's a coordination problem. But what I want to highlight is it's not that academics are super divided and or are very attached, at least in the fields that I'm familiar with, to the current journal system. Uh, I rarely get substantive arguments against moving towards an evaluation and rating-based system. Generally, I think academics would probably could be rounded up to saying they agree that open evaluation and open dissemination and improvement and living research and rating would be a better system. It's a coordination problem. And solving the infrastructure, which is something that people here can play a big role in, can make the coordination easier.